raised, so kind of interesting. I was raised in two, three, four different places. So I spent kind of like, like newbornness up until like 4 or 5 in Pasadena, California. Everywhere I was in Southern California. Pasadena is kind of like a really like interesting split between extremely like affluent and kind of like slightly ghetto-ish, well, ghetto. um, yeah, population of more minorities. And then we moved to Alpine, California, which was almost all white. Lived there for 6 years. We moved to Walnut, California, which was more affluent, predominantly Asian than white, also black people. Oh yeah, let me preface this with saying like most of my experiences have been characterized by my race, so it's probably what I'm going to be talking about a lot. So yeah, I lived in Walnut for a couple of years, moved to Ontario, which was not affluent and over 85% Hispanic or Latino. And that's where I still live right now. Yeah, the environments were all extremely different. And they all had like a big part of like how I thought about myself, just based on like how I was treated in different spaces. They were all very different. Let's see, which one was my favorite? Walnut was okay. It was okay. None of them were great. They were just all okay. My family, let's see, I have an older brother and a younger sister. Dad and mom were together up until 2009, which is when we moved to Ontario. But yeah, we all got along like decently well. We weren't like the super close like families you see on TV. We didn't hate each other either, so it was like just kind of cute. But yeah.
I was raised in Connecticut. I don't know. It was a lot of like rich white people without rules type of environment, and it was very like gossipy, and yeah, I don't know. It was weird. My dad wasn't really around when I was growing up, so that was something that like was kind of like weird, because with the town it was something that like everybody knew but nobody talked about, something like that. So it was kind of a weird environment.
I was raised in northern New Jersey, Bergen County. I lived half my life in Haworth and half my life in Bergenfield, and went to school in Englewood. So home. No, I'm gonna start with school. So school, I went to school at a private school. It was really small. Mass majority was white. I went to school on a lot of financial aid with a lot of people who were very wealthy. And that was kind of my environment, at least educationally, like from kindergarten to 12, which I really appreciate, but also has its setbacks, I guess. But and then home, I was raised in Haworth, which is a small town, a quiet town, really safe. Also really white. And I lived there until I was like 13 or so, and then my parents got divorced, and then we moved to Bergenfield with my mom. Bergenfield is also just a nice town. I wouldn't call it as like nice as Haworth. It's definitely more diverse in the sense of like different demographics and stuff. But yeah, so home was good. We lived in a small home, but it was cozy. I liked it. Definitely a strong sense of family. But yeah, that was my environmental. That's where I lived.
Okay. Just one situation? Okay. I guess the one that comes to mind first was when I was in like second or third grade, and I went to like an all-white Christian private school, and like I had a crush on this guy, and like I was talking about him to like my friends, and we were all like very stupid and very like infantile, but they were like, oh my god, she's blushing. One girl was like, no, she's not, and I was like, like am I blushing? Like I don't really know. And so like it felt very awkward because then they all started laughing, talking about like, oh, blush, 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 and whatever. And since then, it's been really weird because like blushing is something that like what the hell, like it's nothing, but like I've always like thought about it. So I was like, do I blush? And I know I don't, but like you know what I mean. I just kind of felt very. For a long time, I was like, oh man, I wish I blushed. Now I don't. But like you know what I mean. It's just like stupid thing that like always stuck with me. But yeah, I just felt like I didn't belong because they were all talking about like this common experience of something that happened to them, and then kind of shading me because it didn't happen. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot. I guess like when I was younger, it would be like that I like seemed to be like the only person without like a full family going on. But I also like had kind of like a nagging feeling that I didn't belong, just like starting when I was pretty young actually. And now I know that that's like OCD and anxiety. But it was definitely just like always feeling very, very different. And then I also realized pretty young that I was gay as well, and so that made me feel pretty different too. Yeah, and then also what's this stuff? I had also started drinking when I was pretty young, because of this sort of like feeling different and being anxious and stuff. And so I always sort of felt like during the time that I was drinking, I always sort of felt like really bad. Like everyone else was like a good child and I was bad. Yeah.
Yes. I can say that a frequent thought that goes through my mind when at school is that like the school I went to and the school I'm at right now, we can talk about being in that sense of like, how did I get here and why am I here? Not looking like everyone else, and then on top of that, not even not looking like everyone else, it's the idea that I didn't get here by my own merit, but because I had to fill some quota. If like by some right I'm not as intelligent or not as smart, and I'm here just because I'm half Puerto Rican. So it makes me, that idea makes me feel really out of place and really underqualified, whether it be true or not. But in general, I would say that I didn't really notice that I felt out of place at least at school until like there's this really weird defining moment I had in like 3rd grade of like looking in the mirror and being like, I don't look like my white friends. It was just like it was just odd because that was the first time I realized I didn't look like everyone else. But that's only one part of who you are, like your appearance. Like you can totally identify with people on like different levels. But you are seen as other. Like my mom was talked to like the housekeeper at multiple car lines. Like you feel out of place when you can't keep up with your friends, whether they go to the Bahamas or if it's Long Island for the weekend or we're going out to eat after school. Well, honestly, the list can go on and on. Like you can feel very out of place regarding your socioeconomic status, which is like intricately connected to like what race you're assigned or ethnicity you define as. So in that sense, family-wise, because I'm mixed, there's often a feeling of like you're either or neither nor type of thing. Yeah, so like I would go to like my dad's Jewish, my mom is Catholic, we were raised Jewish, and then we went to church. We became Catholic, whatever that means, when I was 14. But I've definitely felt that when at various religious institutions. Like I would go to temple, but like little did they know I'd go to church. And also technically not Jewish if your mom isn't Jewish, so I really never counted in many senses. But yeah, even at family gatherings, you know, it's always kind of a weird moment of like they never mention my mom or some will, and you kind of feel like an outsider, even the people that you're supposed to feel close with, you know? And then regarding church, that was quite an experience. I definitely felt like, maybe not externally, but internally, like my beliefs didn't align with theirs. I wasn't even sure if I still considered myself Jewish, but like, regarding going through each it just felt like at least in the beginning, every time you went to like church, it was like a part of yourself you were forcibly had to let go of, and it sucked because it was out of your control. And that's the thing that really gets me. This feeling of other and this feeling of like not belonging is not your decision. And yeah, but I kind of combated that by feeling belonging with my pals and made some really great friends. And then also my immediate family has a really big part in that. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My struggle with my identity is probably characterized so much of my experience, and it's so ongoing, but I think I've reached a really, really good point. Let's see, first one. I've like known that I was bisexual since like literally second or third grade, literally. But like I was never comfortable enough with myself to tell anyone until after I graduated high school. And everyone was like, "What? How did you? What? This is all so sudden." I'm like, "No, it's not." But, like, you know, just like little things like that. So that was like a really hard thing to kind of reconcile with myself, that like I actually should be who I am and not just be comfortable with tucking this away to make other people comfortable. Other people comfortable. My blackness has been a big part of my life and my identity, just because in every place where I was raised, and I already told you I was in a bunch of different places, everyone always aspired to characteristics that were surrounding whiteness and affluence. And affluence once described me, and then later on it didn't. And so it just always felt like I was always on the negative side of something, you know what I mean? Like, especially in high school, like the first thing that people saw about me, like, oh, the black girl, my identifier was black girl with the boobs. Who played volleyball, that was tertiary, but still. It was always that. And the fact that like my primary identifier was something that everyone saw as almost negative was something that was really hard for me, and led to a lot of just like feelings of essentially depression that went on for a really long time. And so in forming my identity, a lot of it has been kind of like my own self-empowerment, in the sense like I'm taking that back and I like, you know what I mean, like beginning to like, journey to like self-love or some bullshit, and like kind of like saying like, oh, this is great, like whatever I used to think was important / I thought I should aspire to was not really who I am, and so thus it shouldn't be important to me. And so that's kind of it.
Yeah. I've definitely struggled with self-identity a lot. I mean, being bisexual is real weird. I knew that I liked girls when I was younger, and I came out when I was like 8, which I don't remember because that was when my uncle came out. And then I started dating guys later. And so like that's always weird because a lot of the time, like when you come out with, oh, like what's your dating ratio? Like what's your dating history? Who do you like more? Blah blah blah. And I usually date girls more, but then I dated a guy recently. And I mentioned it to my uncle, who was gay. He's like, "You did what?" And it was just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird. It definitely feels like straddling two different things, because like straight people don't really think you're straight just from the part of the time where I'm dating guys, but then a lot of the time gay people will think like, oh, like you're not really gay because you know, half the time that you're dating somebody you don't have to like go through, you know, people treating you like crap and people thinking it's weird or staring at you and all that stuff. And so that's kind of a weird identity thing. And then also with definitely with getting sober as well. Like I got sober when I was 15, and it's another really weird identity thing, because sometimes I feel like I don't really fit in at like the meetings because I'm always like the youngest person there and stuff like that. And then a lot of the time I don't really feel like I fit in other places because I've been sober since I'm 15, and so it feels pretty weird.
Yes. To that I say absolutely. I wasn't sure if we were recording or not. But yeah, no doubt, routinely, frequently, never-endingly, infinitely struggling with self-identity. There's no part of me that I don't struggle with. I can say that with confidence. There's no part of me that I feel 100% sure in. I constantly feel like I have one foot or toe in some other world that is directly conflicting with a different one, if that makes sense. Like, when it comes to like, even like beliefs regarding Judaism, for example. I went to this talk at BU that was imprisonment of peoples, and they linked the Black Lives Matter movement, which I totally am behind, to the Palestinian People's Movement. And it was interesting because the idea of Israel has never been challenged in my home. If anything, it's been promoted. So like that was just a whole different part of me that like my foundation was shook. I'm constantly being shook. I don't know. Self-identity is like, okay, let's go, is made of many different components, right? We could talk about our background, we could talk about like our sexual orientation. I don't even think I struggle with that much. I think I kind of vibe with dudes. But otherwise, yes, I feel like that's a very big overarching question that I touched upon like different in other answers. So I don't want to be repetitive, but I feel like my self-identity is directly intertwined with the way I don't, with my lack of it. I feel like I'm constantly just creating my own. Like no matter what I do, I am like making it up as I go along, I guess. There's just no box. There's just not enough boxes. Yeah.
I personally think I've grown a lot, but at the same time, it's just kind of me telling myself that I have. But essentially, when I came into college, I thought I was very confident, but it was always kind of like a fake it till you make it kind of thing, you know what I mean? And as I said earlier, like a lot of the things that I saw in my childhood and adolescence were always things of whiteness, like you are good if you act white. You know what I mean? Or people like say that, oh, you're not really black, then it's a compliment. You know what I mean? Just like things like that. Like being called Oreo was always a compliment. I shouldn't have taken it as such. But coming to BU was kind of forced me to grow in the sense that like I could either, at least compared to like where I lived for my adolescence and where I still live back home, it's a very white school, and a very affluent school. So I could either subscribe to those being extremely important factors in self-identification and saying that those are better, those are worthy, those are like what I should always aspire to be. And since I am not any of those, hate myself for it. Or I could figure out that what I am is equal to that and just as worthy and actually love myself. And so that like was a very long journey. Like my freshman year was like absolute shit because I had like such major like just depression and anxiety because of just being in a space that I felt did not value my existence or like essentially like my identity, what it was. And so it was very, very hard. So like, you know, I went back home for the summer, smoked a shit ton of weed, thought about it, and like essentially just had to grow up, you know what I mean, like become comfortable with myself. And I feel like in the past year and some, I've had challenges with it, but I'm definitely at a place that's so much better. Like if I look at a lot of the ways that I feel about myself, like sometimes I'll catch myself actually thinking about shit. And I'm like, you know, I'm just like, whoa, this wouldn't have been you 2 years ago. And I think it's something that I really value. And it makes me really happy that I've come here. You know, like I saw like my professor the other day. She was like, oh my god, you look so happy. And I'm just like, oh, you know, I am. You know what I mean? And it's just really, I'm really happy to be at a place where I appreciate myself because I never thought that was ever going to happen to me. Because I always thought that I would only subscribe to like this thought that I had to be a certain way that I was not to be valued. And so the fact that I value myself now, even though I'm still not that, is something that I find really important.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I have grown. Definitely been through like hard stuff while I'm here. Yeah, I mean, long story short, I had a sexual harassment / stalking thing going on my freshman year, and I got PTSD from that. And so for like most of my sophomore year, it was like not just like doing normal stuff. It was like trying to like survive and keep my head above water and deal with having that. And so I just got undiagnosed recently, which is good. So I no longer have the like symptoms that are in like, the disorder range anymore. But part of me is still really frustrated about it. But most of me is proud of myself for getting through that, and I know that I've been working really hard to try to keep myself out of any situations like that, and really like understand when something doesn't feel right to actually listen to myself, because there are so many times when something has felt off and I've just been, oh, I'll probably ignore it, and probably worrying about nothing, and then it turns into something really bad that, you know, sucks for a long time. And so definitely in the past couple of years I've learned to listen to myself more, and I've really had to like stand up for myself, especially against like administration, stuff like that. And so I really learned to like fight for myself, which is kind of cool.
That's an interesting question. I think I've definitely grown. Actually, 100% grown. Like in the BU, I struggled with homesickness a lot, and just like feeling like my life was somewhere else. But like, I feel like slowly you build your life here, and just the idea of being able to take care of yourself and being independent from those that you love, but still knowing that you're loved by them and that you love them, was really important for me. And regarding self-identity growing at BU, honestly, I don't feel like I've tapped into that a lot. I think this also goes into my own insecurities, my own like uncomfortableness in me, but I haven't really gone to like organizations that are specifically for like my ethnicity or about solidarity, because I never feel like I belong there. Like no matter where I go to, it's like you're not really one of us. So it's like this idea that I'm supposed to feel at home, but then I don't because I'm not that. But that's an excuse, because BU is a really cool place, and I feel like no one would ever think that or treat me like that if I went to like various different student groups. Like I'm allowed to like draw from different parts of myself to give me strength. I don't really know where I'm going with that. But the moral of the story is I feel like I've definitely grown as a person at BU, like matured. Definitely not. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I do less explaining here. People seem to get it more.